Hello and welcome to this episode of Halcyon Blink. No, this isn't a Halcyon PWT, otherwise I would start by announcing your PWT Heavyweight Champion of the World is here. Bow down to your champion. But this isn't the PWT, this is Halcyon Blink. On this episode, I'm going to be touching on something that should have been great, had all the potential to be great, but instead was just terrible. Fable was one of my favourite games of all time. In fact, if my memory serves, it was either my third or fourth favourite game of all time. I recently reviewed it and gave it nearly a 10. If I didn't give it a 10, I gave it a 9.5 or a 9. It really was that good. And to be honest, with the next generation rocking up, every seed could have been planted that should have been to make sure that the second game was unbelievable and that the third game, having had a few years into the generation, would be out of this goddamn world. And they weren't. They were not. The second game, instead of the combat mechanics that made the first one so good, instead opted to make the combat effectively magic based. There was no use in using the combat of melee because everyone always blocked your stuff, and the guns, well, why would I want to play a medieval style, industrial age style fantasy RPG with guns when I have magic? Instead opting for this weird magical mechanic where you press and hold the B button, which is the magic button, I believe, it's been a while, and the circle of radius of effect grows and grows until you release it and you release your magic. Now basically what this meant was that so long as you focused on magic, you could be effectively untouchable, because you could just spam that. And like any Fable player would know, mana potions were never that hard to come by in the first game. So in the second game, when you're absolutely balling in money, for reasons that I'll get into in a moment, you could just magic the hell out of people. Now, I'll come to the second issue for the second game because I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't play the third game longer than an hour. The reason for this? Well, it's quite simple. That hour was one of the worst gaming experiences I've ever had in my entire life. Next elimination. That's not just the opinion of a Fable fan. My ex happened to be playing at the time and I was trying to get her into more co-op games like Fable because I thought it'd be a giggle to do an RPG together. She was so bored after the first half an hour and me procrastinating and saying, no, give it another 10 minutes, give it another 10 minutes. It might get good, it might get good. And it didn't. It was the most disappointing thing I think I've ever had in terms of a gaming experience that wasn't called Mass Effect 3's ending. Anyway, come back to Fable 2 because this is the one that I believe is the bigger culprit of the two. Fable 2's magic mechanic was compromised by the fact that it was so easy to abuse two systems that the game thought was so clever. So clever. We're so clever, people. One was the earning money mechanic. The idea being that you would earn money real time. So your console would keep a note of the time and date, and any time that you left it for a prolonged period of time, your businesses or your homes that you rent out would earn money. Now, clever Dicks and Harrys and Toms decided to test this theory by winding the clock of the Xbox forward 99 years.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
And basically what you got was, you'd wind the clock forward, open it up, save it, wind it back, and you'd find yourself stinking rich. And I mean stupid rich, because what you'd do is, you'd buy one property, do that for 99 years, then you'd have enough money to buy every property in the game, do it again, and you'd have more money than you could ever spend. Now also what you'd have to do is, you gain morality points for this. So the more morally ambiguous you are, the more evil you look. So if you do nasty acts, you look more evil. Now in the first game, this is actually quite hard to do, because unless you go around literally murdering everybody and ignoring every monster that you can, you naturally become a good guy. There's only a couple of moral choices you can take, and even then they don't turn you into a bad guy. You actually get kind of the benefits. The idea of right and wrong, it kind of goes out the window, because you feel like, oh, well, I've done a lot of right, so I'm allowed to take this for myself. So coming back to Fable 2 though, this meant that after doing this twice, you'd look evil. But if you didn't want to look evil, all you'd have to do is just set all the rent rates to the lowest amount, because presumably you'd set them to the highest amount to make the most amount of money in that one hit. Everyone would then hate you because they think you're kind of a tyrant, that you waste a lot of money. You then go back in, do it again, and because you've got 99 years of giving everyone the lowest rent possible, they will love you again. So the only downside potentially to that cheat is eradicated. Second cheat. So, you want to play a game co-op with your friend, do you not? Of course you do. We all have friends, except for me. What you can do is you can create effectively a duplicate of your in-game character. Now what you can also do is, if you decide that this individual, this player that you're playing with isn't, let's say, as good as you, and perhaps needs a bit more juice, a bit more oomph, then what you can do is you can trade points with him. Effectively, you can give him some of your abilities. So if you want them to be more arrow focused, you can give them all of your arrow points, and then you can just focus on magic or melee. Now, what the developers overlooked is that if you transfer all of the points from one character to another, because you're duplicated, so there's double the points, but they're spread across two characters, if you eradicate all of those and give them to the first player, your character, when you log out, the character keeps those points. So what you can do, without killing a single thing, is effectively double your power every time you do that. Now this takes a bit of time, but once you've built up the momentum, it doesn't take long for you to actually build up enough points to max your character out without playing a single mission. And this gets worse when you end up later on in the story mode of Fable 2 going to a spire. I forget what it's called, but effectively it's a prison. They're building it in order to create this giant weapon slash artifact that grants its wielder tremendous power. Now, one of the downsides of this is that in the game and in the story, the idea is you get to this island by pretending to be a guard, and the guards are all kept in line by a power collar. If you step out of line, it saps some of your power. You become weaker and weaker. Now, at the precipice of this story within this spire, if you continue to try to be a good guy, presumably you're going to be super weak, because it takes 10 to 30% of your power at any one of the time. However, if you've accrued enough points prior to going this, say by using the dupe cheat, then you can have so many points that you can still have a maxed out character when you come across the big bad at the end of that particular section of the story. That he just saps all of the extra points. He might not even sap all of the extra points if you've used enough. So you end up with this feeling of being overpowered and nothing being earned. Now, yes, you could say, well, just don't cheat. Please, if you knew that you could do that, given how bad the game is built and how stupid some of the design choices are and how lackluster the story is and how piss poor a use of people like Stephen Fry and other individuals that they brought in expressly for the purpose of giving the narrative some oomph with some decent character arcs, wouldn't you? So in terms of rating these games, I'll be honest, Fable 2 I did complete, albeit under duress. So Fable 2 I'm going to give a 5 because it's an average game. It's not terrible, but it's just one of those games that I've got no desire to go back and play. Fable 3, I can't give a rating out and out because I've not completed it. I don't believe in giving ratings to games that I've not completed. However, if I'm going to rate the experience, that hour's experience, god damn, it's a 3. And I'm probably being generous. The graphics do not look good. The music is terrible. The actions and the controls feel so limp and loose and lifeless and so uninspired, considering the fact that they had probably 5 years or 6 years into the new generation, having originally developed for the original Xbox, and still nothing. So it's sad to say, but the second half of the Fable 2 is just so disappointing. And Fable 3 does nothing to captivate the imagination whatsoever. So thank you very much for watching this very disappointing episode of Halcyon Blink. Very disappointingly, like, share and subscribe if you wouldn't mind terribly. Also go and check out some of the other content creators in the description below. I'm sure they'd appreciate a like or a watch. BBK Smasher, by the way, check that boy out. It's gone up to 250 odd subscribers. He's leaving me in the dust, people. So if you don't want me to lose, I suggest you start sharing my videos with people and get me some subscribers. Or, if you don't feel that way inclined, then you can also grovel at your PWT World Heavyweight Champion. Look at it. Look at how beautiful it is. Look at how shiny it is. Look at how much you want it. I know you do. Everyone keeps saying they don't want this belt. They don't care. They think it's stupid. Do you know what? Jealousy takes some weird forms, man. You should just all admit it. You'd be better off with yourselves. So thanks very much for watching again. Be jealous. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Halcyon Blink.
Look in